Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. And right now we're accepting investors in our $17 million round to revolutionize the future of social media. Today, for just $399, you can own 60 shares of stock in Fanbase at $665 a share. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. While the big platforms have grown too massive and disconnected from their users, Fanbase is building a platform where creators and users truly come first. We've already raised $4.8 million from everyday investors who believe in this vision, and now you can join them. This is your chance to invest in a social media tech company with over 1 million users that is disrupting media by allowing anyone to reach all of their following and monetize their content from day one. The market is changing, big platforms are failing to serve their users, and Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now. Invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the future of social media.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Today is Wednesday, February 5th, 2025, coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. All right, folks, how afraid of MAGA should we be? They are going to literally allow companies to run roughshod over the food supply in our country. This quest for deregulation is going to be deadly. That is happening, and right now, the FDA elevated to its deadliest category, Walmart's broccoli. We'll tell you about it. Also, bird flu has killed chickens and ducks, and one particular farm had to get rid of 100,000 ducks. And a second strain has been found in dairy cattle, all while inspectors are leaving the agencies that handle our food safety. We're going to unpack that thing on the show. Republicans on the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee swiftly shut down an effort by Democrats to subpoena billionaire Elon Musk, the head of the fake Department of Government Efficiency, which actually doesn't exist. Congresswoman Shontel Brown and Congressman Khanna will be here to discuss today's vote. Hundreds of demonstrators taking the streets to protest the dismantling of the USAID agency. And Texas Democratic Congressman Al Green says he's filing articles of impeachment against the twice impeached criminally convicted felon Donald Trump. Plus, a judge throws out the final charge against the white former DA Jackie Johnson, officially ending her trial tied to the murder of Ahmaud Arbery. Folks, it is time to bring the funk. I'm Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the best, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the fine. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah.
This here is the homepage of the FDA, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. At the top there it says on October 1st, 2024, the FDA began implementing a reorganization impacting many parts of the agency. We're in the process of updating FDA.gov content to reflect these changes. Now keep in mind, Donald Trump and his crazy MAGA supporters are now in charge of the FDA, Department of Health and Human Services, and all these various agencies. Why is that important? Because big business hates government oversight. They hate it. And they actually want to end government oversight. While this is going on, the FDA has elevated Walmart's market-side broccoli florets recall to its most urgent category. The recall, which began in December, affects stores in more than 20 states. Health officials warn that Listeria monocytogenes pose a serious risk, particularly for women, newborns, and older adults. Market-side broccoli florets, best by date December 10, 2024. This is the lot code BFFG 327A6. BFFG 327A6. Walmart posted this statement on its website. Walmart and Sam's Club are committed to the health and safety of our customers and members and to providing products that are safe and compliant, all supported by our health and wellness, product safety, and food safety professionals. In the event of a product recall, we work swiftly to block the item from being sold and remove it from our stores and clubs. Now remember, the twice impeached, criminally convicted felon-in-chief Donald the Con Trump has been what he's been trying to do is whack government oversight. Where Republicans always yell and complain about, oh, too much red tape, too much regulation. We need to allow business to move forward. They're doing that in the FDA. They're doing that in the EPA. And this could have deadly consequences for consumers. Now, while the FDA is doing this, another issue, hundreds of thousands of dead ducks. That's right, in this country, washed up on the southern Lake Michigan shore. Those deaths are said to be from the ongoing bird flu outbreak. The USDA, their Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service, announced on Wednesday that they found an unprecedented strain of bird flu in dairy cattle. Before this detection, all 957 reported cases of bird flu infections among dairy cattle this year were caused by the same strain. Now, since April, nearly 70 people in the U.S. have contracted bird flu, with most cases occurring on farm workers. Now, again, when you start taking all of these things in the aggregate, you would think that you would want more inspectors, more people making sure the food supply in the United States is safe. Nope. They want less oversight. Joy Cheney is founder of Joy Strategies, joining us out of D.C. Daniel Blackman, former Biden appointee, founder of Renaissance 94 out of Atlanta, Zabora Glider, DEIA consultant and employment specialist. Glad to have all three of you here. This is the thing, Joy, I'm telling you, people need to understand. When Republicans talk about too much regulation, too much red tape, too much government oversight, they want to allow big business to do whatever they want when it comes to our food, when it comes to the water, when it comes to the air quality.
That's right. I mean, when we say that we're turning into an oligarchy, that's what we mean. We mean when corporations are prioritized over people, that's what we mean. When we were telling you that Donald Trump didn't, I'm going to say, give a damn about you, that's what we meant. And it's not just on a few issues here and there. It's on all the things that you don't think about. I think we've shielded the American people for far too long about what government really does for them. Why people, we're not trying, well, maybe now, but we're not trying to keep people in the United States. People are trying to come here because it's safe. When you eat food, it's not perfect, but when you eat food, you can relatively be assured you're not going to get sick. When you walk into a building, you know it's going to stand up straight. It's not going to fall down. We have standards, and those things come through regulation. And when you have an unregulated industry, people run amok. We saw that with the housing crisis, right? They created a product that that wasn't regulated. And so businesses' goal is just to make more money. Just to make more money. And they never ask, is what they're doing harmful? Not only are they doing this at the FDA, I know we're talking about food, but these are people, if you look at Project 2025, they want to make it easier for children to work, to invalidate our child labor laws. They're coming for all progress from the 20th century that is aimed at making the world safer, because sometimes that means that we pull the reins on business a little bit. So this was to be expected.
Right.
These are the kinds of things the Americans didn't realize they were voting for, but they weren't.
Well, the reality is, Daniel, we saw it last in terms of when they got rid of food inspectors. And that's critically important for people to understand. And they want to see more people fired. And that's what we have to understand what is at play here.
Yeah, I don't think, Roland, and I'd agree with Joy as far as it's concerned with where we're heading as a country. But look, coming from the previous administration and the work that we were able to do in briefings, in making sure inspectors were in place, going back to 2015, there was a policy, the Safe and Accurate Food Labeling Law, that was spearheaded by the food and beverage industry. It was dubbed the DARK Act. And so this is not something new out of a Republican playbook. We've seen this time and time again where our health, our food, our production of our food, the health of our citizens, especially in most vulnerable communities, are compromised. And who suffers the most? People in marginalized communities, people that look like those of us on this call, those that are in rural parts of our country. When you look at the COVID-19 impact, most of the pre-existing conditions was what led to the actual deaths at high rates amongst Black and brown citizens. So I think today, when we talk about FDA, when we talk about the mass departure that the Musk-Trump administration is trying to perpetuate, I think that causes a much bigger problem. Because when you ask individuals that are already understaffed, remember, for those of your listeners, Roland, that are watching and viewing today, these positions are already understaffed. Like when I was as regional administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency, we were already trying to catch up, and that's every agency. So when you're asking thousands of people to take a buyout or whatever it is they're trying to accomplish, it compromises and further separates us from being able to do the right thing and regulate and monitor, which is what they were hired to do. And career employees and those in the federal government suffer more, and we end up paying for it with our lives.
Zabor, look at this story here. This is from 2019, okay? The first time the idiot was in office. Headline, Trump administration allows pork slaughterhouses to have fewer USDA inspectors. The new rule also allows plants to run their processing lines as fast as they like. This is the kind of oversight that is needed. And this is what it said right here. The new rule will let factory workers, rather than USDA inspectors, remove unsuitable carcasses and trim defects in plants that opt into the new inspection system. You're going to leave it up to the company to do it? We know what they're going to do is they're going to try to rush through as much as they can to make as much money as they can.
No, for sure. You're seeing it in all agencies across the board, from the Federal Aviation Agency to this, with us removing ourselves from the World Health Organization. Like, they're doing things and they're not thinking about how those things are, well, I'm going to say they're not thinking about it. They don't care about how those things affect everyday people. And when you don't have government oversight, everybody does what they want to do. And it's about money. It's not about people. We've got so far away from just being moral compass centered, like what happened to caring about our people, making sure that we have everything that we need. So many different viruses are going around right now, from the different types of flus to all of these things that are happening with food. And then they're not even allowing us to know what's going on. They're reduced their briefings to let us know what's happening with the CDC and the scientific reporting. So just they say they want little government in our affairs, but it seems like very big government in our affairs to me.
Yeah, but here's the deal, and this what ticks me off. So all these conservatives, they love talking about government overreach. Yeah, we're tired of we're tired of government being in our lives. You know, we believe the free market system, what the free market system can do, and things along those lines. Yet when you look at what we've had salmonella outbreaks. We've had I'm sitting here right now. So go to my iPad. You see outbreak investigation of salmonella, June 12, 2024. Outbreak investigation of salmonella eggs, September 13th. And you see the different responses. And so folks these companies always yell and scream. And I was yell and scream, Daniel. Oh my goodness, we just want to overreach. No. They're trying to maximize profits. And they've actually run charts. You know what? We can tolerate a certain number of deaths or illnesses and we maximize profits. That's what's going on here. Let me know when Daniel's camera's straight. I'm gonna go to Zabor first. But that's what's going on here, and that's what they're doing. Zabor, I'm gonna go to you first. They want to maximize profits, and they don't care, and they got no issue if there's going to be an outbreak. And then the same folks who are whining and complaining are the same people. Where was the government? Why didn't they stop this?
Exactly. Or you see them saying this is a conspiracy like they did with COVID. Is the minority communities and marginalized communities are the ones that are really impacted, but the individuals that are voting to have these individuals in office and to run things, they're acting like they can't see it. They're just having a willful ignorance over knowing that you are creating things that are going to have long-lasting impact for our communities. And you don't want to have any social services towards those communities. So we get sick. You already have awful health care for these marginalized communities. And you're not doing anything to regulate the individuals. You're taking away, closing all of these offices, putting people out of jobs when they're already understaffed. They're already not being able to communicate with the public the way they would typically communicate. So it's just every problem is exacerbating the last problem.
Can I just jump in to say this?
Actually, hold on one second, Joy, because I'm going to go to Daniel. Daniel, talk about that. You talked about working in the EPA. There's a reason when we have people whose job is to inspect water samples, air samples, all those things, because they have deadly consequences. And when someone dies from poisoning, I'm sorry, you can't bring them back. And then people say, well, there's no amount of money. Well, this is what happens when you let corporate lawyers take over departments, take over agencies who do the bidding of the companies where they came from.
That's right. And here's the thing, what people don't realize is how critical the previous administration's bipartisan infrastructure law and the Inflation Reduction Act, by which in the first 9 days, President Trump passing executive orders to completely disseminate what was in place in critical infrastructure areas. A lot of Trump supporters are going to feel this as well, because here's the thing. In the southeastern United States, in rural areas like in Mississippi and Alabama and Kentucky, where they are still recovering from floods, Tennessee and the Carolinas, these are areas when you take away the ability for us to inspect these things, those are the communities and individuals that are going to suffer the most. Now, granted, we're going to all suffer as a country, but I think one of the things that you bring up that's so critical, Roland, is when you start thinking about how the long-term effects are in removing critical individuals. We are one extreme weather event, one pandemic, one situation away from complete collapse, because you're taking individuals away whose career, their lives are built on protecting the public health and the public safety of the environment. When cities like Jackson, Mississippi's water infrastructure was on its way to being repaired, rebuilt, and restored, are now having to suffer with the current administration and saying that's no longer a priority, or areas like Lowndes County, Alabama, or Mobile, Alabama. These are communities where when you talk about that previous image you posted about the pork industry and how they want to speed through and rush through the regulatory process. This causes irreparable damage. And when low and moderate income communities that depend on their public health facilities in their areas that are underfunded, understaffed, and quite frankly, don't have the resources to respond, you are going to see a greater and a faster decline within our public health system. And lastly, you look at which we haven't talked about, the CDC, members of the CDC, workers, career employees have just stated that if Robert Kennedy Jr. is confirmed within the Senate, over 1,000 of them are talking about leaving their jobs. The last thing we need outside of food security and food safety and inspectors is to lose the very people that study pathogens, diseases, and protect our communities from the types of pandemics that we've recently experienced.
Joy, real quick, go.
Let me just be clear to reiterate. They have actuaries who determine if they take a certain policy, how many people are going to die. If they have a lawsuit based on those deaths, how much it's going to cost them. Okay.
Right. That's what I said earlier. I mean, this is well known in business where they actually do that.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. But that money does not go back to you. So if you are an employee in that company or you're a shareholder or somehow you think this is going to benefit you, it won't.
No. It's not going to benefit workers, but it will benefit shareholders. And that's the whole point.
It will benefit shareholders, but it will not benefit consumers.
When the companies say everything is in the interest of shareholder value, it is about them. It is not about workers, and this is what they do. They don't care about how it hurts people. They have put a price tag on what's an acceptable number of illnesses or deaths.
Correct. But when your company fails, because ultimately you lead to some kind of outbreak, some kind of disaster, it will impact shareholders.
Yeah, of course it will.
Guys, there is a pendulum here. What goes up must come down. So don't believe that, having a long-term company that ultimately cares about the health and safety of its consumers is ultimately smart for business.
Yep. All right, folks, going to go to the break real quick. We come back, we're going to chat about efforts for Democrats today to hold Elon Musk accountable. Republicans, no, we'll keep kissing his ass. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
What's up, y'all? Look, Fanbase is more than a platform. It's a movement to empower creators, offering a unique opportunity for everyday people to invest in Black-owned tech, infrastructure, and help shape the future of social media. Investing in technology is essential for creating long-term wealth and influence in the digital age. The Black community must not only consume tech, we must own it.
Discover how equity crowdfunding can serve as a powerful tool for funding Black businesses, allowing entrepreneurs to raise capital directly through their community through the Jobs Act.
On a next, A Balanced Life with me, Dr. Jackie, the necessity of believing in things you can't see. It's called faith. It comes in all shapes and sizes, and it's powerful. And it's a big part of being able to live a balanced life.
The valley I experienced being a cancer survivor was one where my footing was completely unstable. I had no idea what to do. And in that instance of not knowing what to do, I had to rely on faith.
That's all next on A Balanced Life, only on Black Star Network.
My name is Lena Charles, and I'm from Opelousas, Louisiana. Yes, that is Zydeco capital of the world.
My name is Margaret Chappelle. I'm from Dallas, Texas, representing the Urban Trivia Game.
It's me, Sherry Shepard, and you know what you watch.
Roland Martin on Unfiltered.
Folks, hundreds of demonstrators gathered across from the U.S. Capitol to protest the recent cuts and dismantling of the U.S. Agency for International Development. USAID has been one of the agencies most affected by budget cuts proposed by the new administration and Elon Musk's budget-cutting team. Employees received the news through emails and an online public notice. The order will take effect just before midnight on Friday. Unless deemed essential, agency staff overseas must return home within 30 days. The notice also says contractors who are not considered essential will be terminated. Now, as a result of that, Democrats have been saying, wait a minute, there needs to be some answers here. You literally have Elon Musk doing whatever the hell he wants to do. making these decisions, cutting folks on a whim, and not explaining. Now, mind you, these are not just functions of the executive part of the government. This is also congressionally approved agencies, budgets approved by Congress, expenditures approved by Congress, and they're operating as if they have a line item veto, which the Supreme Court has already ruled unconstitutional. Today, on the House Oversight Committee, Democrats wanted to subpoena Elon Musk. Republicans, nope, we ain't doing that. Watch this.
Given his prominence and his importance, I move that the committee subpoena Elon Musk to come before it as a witness at the earliest possible moment. And I so move.
There's been a motion and second. The motion is not debatable.
Mr. Chairman, why is it not debatable? Point of order.
It is debatable.
Mr. Chair, I strike the last word.
Hold on.
Mr. Chairman.
We're going to table the motion.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, why don't we want to debate Elon Musk coming in and talking to us about his work and how he's enriched himself for $64 billion?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman.
Chair recognizes Dr. Fox.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to table the motion.
There's a motion to table. Is there a second?
Chairman,
Second by
point of
Mr.
order.
Higgins.
Point of order,
Now,
Mr.
the motion is not debatable, as many
Point of order, Mr.
are in
Chairman.
favor of tabling. Point of order. State your point.
Mr. Chairman, I think it's outrageous that this committee will not even entertain a motion.
No, you state your.
Chairman, that's not a point of order.
Somebody
You know,
who's breaking the law
agree.
and
Point
dismantling our federal
There's
agencies
been a motion.
and hiring federal employees
No, we don't listen to demagogues.
data,
Out of
and
order.
you will not
Out of order.
even
Out of order.
entertain a motion
The
to
motion
bring
is
this
Chairman,
to
this is
the
demagoguery. This is
As
Oversight
many
Committee.
as are in favor of tabling.
Yes,
signify.
let's have order in this country.
Stansbury, you're out of order. You know you're out of order. You know the rules of this committee. There's been a motion.
Mr.
and a
Elon
second to
Musk is
table.
out of
Now,
order and dismantling.
He's out of order.
God.
I call the question.
There's been a motion and second. Motion by Dr. Fox, second by Mr. Higgins to table. All those in favor of tabling signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying no.
No.
In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the motion.
That's what happened today. Go to my iPad. Sam Stein with the Bulwark reported this. When questioned today, the press secretary, you know, that clueless one who's unqualified for her job, clarified that Elon Musk will self-determine when there's a conflict of interest involving him and DOGE. Okay, so the person that has gotten more than $15 billion in federal contracts will determine if there's a conflict of interest. We know how that's going to go. Joining me now is Ohio Congresswoman Shontel Brown. Glad to have you on the show. This goes to show you the insanity of Republicans. They yelled and screamed, oversight, overreach, oh my God, is Hunter Biden attending meetings, all of that. And here you have somebody who they cannot say has gotten additional security clearance, who they cannot say has outlined what they're doing, who is literally going from agency to agency, making cuts, freezing staff out of their emails, taking over a payment system, and Republicans are like, hear no evil, see no evil.
Well, thanks for having me, Roland. It's absolutely insidious. Exactly as you laid it out is how we led our meeting. We wanted to subpoena Elon Musk and in their efforts to delay and distract the American people. They overruled us, if you will. They do have the numbers in this Trump trifecta. They control the House, they control the Senate, they control the White House, and I would dare to say they control the judicial branch of government. So they are exercising the control that they have, but I want to remind the people that their margins are incredibly slim in the House. They have a 2-person majority, and so on any given day, the numbers can shift one direction or another. And we even saw that narrowly, they narrowly were able to shut down today's subpoena, a request by the Democrats, because that vote only passed their way by one vote, one person. So it is incumbent upon us as Democrats to show up and stand up and speak up against the atrocities that this Republican Party and most notably an unelected person is trying to propose, and really taking advantage of the citizens and the employees in the federal government. As you pointed out, these are the same people who spent countless dollars and countless hours on this imaginary impeachment of President Biden that came up with nothing, zero, nada, not a thing. It was, and I can't tell you how many meetings that they had on this, but now all of a sudden, they turn a blind eye. There's no oversight. There's no accountability to a man who is the wealthiest man and controlling our president, obviously, but also using his outside servers. Do you remember when they cared about servers?
Well, yeah. Oh, they made a big deal out of Hillary Clinton having emails on the outside server, and Elon Musk's team are coming into federal agencies installing servers that have not been checked, not been protected, and they're like, hey, no biggie.
Emailed 2 million people with his outside server. So it is a national security risk. His sheer presence, I mean, he could never, he's not eligible to run for elected office, but he is certainly using the power of his purse to influence President Trump and his MAGA minions.
Well, how about this here? So this is from Secretary Sean Duffy. Big news, talk to the Doge team. They're going to plug in to help upgrade our aviation system. I'm sorry, these group of 18 to 24-year-olds with Elon Musk, do they have any aviation experience? Do they have any of this? So Donald Trump has first of all, Elon Musk spent $300 million to do this. And so Trump is like, yep, do whatever you want to do. He is running rampant through every part of the federal government. Oh, but he hasn't gone to the Pentagon that's failed 7 consecutive audits. But go ahead.
So the $300 million that you talk about is a small investment given the return on what he's gotten for his $300 million. And, you know, so he has made billions and billions.
More than $150 billion. His net worth has increased by more than $100 billion since the election.
And so when you say $300 million, that sounds like a lot to us, but it's a drop in the bucket when you think about what he's getting in return. So this is a clear attack on the American people. And it is obvious that their goal is to make the wealthiest of the people even wealthier. And they want to do it on the backs of Americans. When they talk about saying that they want to right-size government, they don't want to right-size government. That's not what this is really about. It is about gutting government. It is about destroying it. It is about dismantling it to the point that it is going to collapse and that no one, absolutely no one, benefits from the programs and services that have helped millions of people. The only people they want to help are their billionaire buddies. Their goal, again, is to try to get tax cuts and tax breaks for the wealthiest of people and their corporations. And they're doing it, and their plan is to do it on the backs of everyday Americans. But Roland, rest assured, Democrats are standing up, speaking up, and fighting back at every turn. Regardless of how many executive orders President Trump puts out there, he is not a king. This is not a dictatorship, and we will not allow him to just run ramshot through the Congress and through our Constitution.
Well, first of all, in the House, you're even more limited. But I would really hope that you and other Democrats in the House are telling your Senate colleagues, put a hold on any appointee. The rules in the Senate are a lot different in the House. And we saw Tommy Tuberville do this, how he blocked for several months nominations of folks in the Pentagon. And that's what Democrats should be doing. Senator Chuck Schumer should be using every single Senate rule, parliamentary move to say, no, ain't nothing moving. We're going to hold up every appointment. If that man does not want to come down to committee hearing, then nothing moves. And so that needs to be happening. And I just think that, frankly, too many Senate Democrats are going along with a lot of these Trump nominees as well, voting for them, and it should be total shutdown. You don't want to give us answers. You don't want to comply with us. We ain't voting for anybody. We're shutting everything down.
Well, I don't pretend to be a member of the Senate, right? But I appreciate and agree with what you're saying. What's happening on the Senate side, they should be using every lever of power to prevent these unqualified nominees from getting into places of power that will have long-lasting impacts on our everyday lives. It is beyond concerning the nominees that have been put forth by the president. And when they want to talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, eliminating that, these are some of the most unqualified candidates for these positions in our nation's history. And so I am with you. The Senate has to figure out a way to put up some potential roadblocks and guardrails so that we can preserve the progress that we've made. And I would be remiss if I did not note, we have made significant progress. Mm-hmm. And I think some of the folks who potentially voted for Trump because they thought the price of gas and groceries and eggs were a little bit too high might be having their own case of buyer's remorse now.
All right, Congresswoman Shontel Brown, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for having me.
All right, if you go to my iPad, folks, the attacks by Elon Musk on USAID, Gizmodo said this is the reason they were investigating his Starlink contracts with Ukraine. You see right here, he has been attacking this agency more than any other. And the Lever actually reported that, let me actually just go to their reporting, that the Lever reported that they were in the midst of, the USAID Inspector General was in the process of investigating its own public-private partnership between Musk, Starlink, and the Ukrainian government at the time that his DOGE crippled the agency. And what does that tell you? And then, of course, you have this happening right here. Let me pull it up here, which, again, is a joke. It shows you how these people are utterly insane. At today's news conference, Carolyn Levitt, okay, who is frankly nothing but an airhead, listen to what she actually said about Elon Musk and conflicts of interest.
With Spectrum News. You talked a bit about Doge. Elon Musk is currently a, quote, special government employee who also owns companies that have billions of dollars in federal contracts. You said earlier this week that he has abided by all applicable federal laws, but what steps is the Trump administration taking to address that conflict of interest?
The president was already asked and answered this question this week, and he said if Elon Musk comes across a conflict of interest with the contracts and the funding that Doge is overseeing, then Elon will excuse himself from those contracts. And he has, again, abided by all applicable laws.
So if Elon comes across a conflict, he's going to say, hey, guys, I have a conflict. Let's see, pull up my panel. By a show of hands, any three of y'all think he's going to do that? No, I didn't think so. Daniel, right there, when you talk about the USAID investigation with Starlink contracts, hello, that's a conflict of interest right there.
Not only is it a conflict of interest, but these are really scary times. I mean, I want people to understand that when we talk about, first of all, self-excusing yourself and an individual that has gone through a very non-competitive space to get, as you mentioned earlier, over $15 billion in federal contracts. This is not only a conflict of interest, but internationally, most people don't even realize that USAID is focused specifically on disaster relief and recovery, poverty efforts, security issues, national security issues. So when you see someone that can actually weaponize an area where our country and our partners are at risk, individuals that have been committed to the safety and security of these areas. You saw what the Biden administration did around offering aid to Ukraine. Look, regardless of what an individual believes, supports, or doesn't support, when it comes to our foreign adversaries as well as those who we work with, I think it's a challenge because most people don't understand. As a political appointee, I went under more scrutiny and a background check than Elon Musk has gone through in one day. And when you have individuals like this that don't have to go through a confirmation, no accountability, and they're able to go in and remove individuals and organization at their own discretion, we're going to see this type of irreparable damage for a long time. And quite frankly, it pisses me off, man, to see what's going on right now around our country with unchecked powers that this individual is doing. We're hearing more about Elon Musk than our vice president. That's a problem. And
well,
so
that's because Elon Musk is the vice president, or he's actually Elon Musk is actually the co-president. This is Virginia Congresswoman Jennifer McClellan, again speaking to the fear of federal workers and the impact on everyday Americans.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to speak out on behalf of our beleaguered federal workforce, which is currently under attack by the Musk-Trump-Vance administration. Trump's OMB nominee, Russell Vought, said, quote, "We want the bureaucrats to be traumatically affected. When they wake up in the morning, we want them to not want to go to work because they are increasingly viewed as the villains. We want to put them in trauma." Well, Mr. Speaker, they're in trauma. Literally on my way to the floor to vote tonight, I received a text from a federal employee that said simply, "Help us!" exclamation point. Who exactly is the Musk-Trump-Vance administration terrorizing? The people who make sure your food is safe to eat, your water is clean to drink, and the air is clean to breathe. The people who work tirelessly to keep pregnant women, asthmatic children, and people with cancer from dying. The people who make sure you fly safely. The people protecting American lives here and around the globe through diplomacy, intelligence gathering, and fighting crime. To the federal workforce, I see you. I'm doing everything I can to help you. I won't quit. Please don't quit either. Thank you.
All right, so Zabor, here's a needle that I believe the Democrats have to thread. So follow me here. There's a belief in this country, Republicans love talking about this here, that these federal workers are awful, they're trash, it's too many of them, cut government. That's how a lot of Republicans and Democrats and independents think. And she did it in a sense. And follow me, I'm not suggesting that Democrats leave federal workers out to dry. But I believe they actually have to reverse the narrative. They actually the narrative has to be not about the federal workers. The narrative has to be about how as she did there, how the American citizens, how the working class, how women, children, go down the line, are impacted by the work of these workers. So and again, it's a fine line, but if the narrative is Democrats standing up for federal workers, the Republicans are going to win that narrative.
That's right.
Because the public is thinking too many of them. No. What the Democrats have to do in shaping the narrative is to say, like we did in our opening segment, egg processors, food workers, they got to go, boom. Those of y'all who are eating what you eat, in terms of what you breathe in, guess what? And they got to be specific. This river in Ohio, this lake in Wisconsin, these are the people. These workers are the people that keeps the water there safe, that keeps the rivers safe. That's the narrative. But so the way they're doing it, I just think it's wrong, and it's not going to break through because I just think the American public is going to be like, oh man, we can lose 1 million of them and we won't miss a thing. Zabor, go ahead.
No, for sure. At the end of the day, these workers are the people that are benefit from these systems are so important. So you have to make it real and relevant to the American people. Why is it that these individuals losing their job? How does that impact you? How does that impact your grocery store runs, your family, your child care, your food stamps, all of these things that are impacting real people? You need to bring it to their house. Make sure that they understand this is how this is impacting you. I totally agree with everything you said. I think that Democrats do a very poor job of understanding. They're so out of touch with understanding what the American people need and what they're really experiencing. And it's crazy because they are American people. But I think you get so caught up in the politics of it that you don't know how to make this sit on a person's front door. At the end of the day, all of these Republicans that voted to put Trump in office are being affected just like the individuals that didn't vote for him. And that big space of individuals that didn't vote at all.
Someone who is
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Those are the individuals that you need to be letting know. So the next time that there is a vote, all of these things that are going to be coming in the next couple of years, they need to know how this impacts them. So we got to bring it to their house, to their front doors.
I did a video shortly after the election, Joy, where I said, okay, America, y'all wanted a king, now you got a king. And I explained to them 1 Samuel. Donald Trump probably would call it Samuel 1. Where the people of Israel said, God, we want a king. And he said, all right, I'm going to give y'all a king. I'm going to let y'all know what the king going to do to you. Then they were crying, oh, Lord, please, can you please get on? No, y'all wanted a king. These fools who voted for Trump, they wanted a king. Here's Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett laying out what happens when you let a fool who's not a king act like a king.
someone who is unelected. It doesn't matter how many cheerleaders he had on the fields campaigning for him. That doesn't mean that he gets to go in and sit atop any of our agencies. And the fact that we had a vote today and we asked to bring him in because we have a constitutional duty. We all took our oath, and maybe some of y'all just don't take it seriously. But I take it seriously when I take an oath to do a job, and my job is to look out and make sure that we don't have any kings or queens in this country. But it seems like y'all have decided that it's going to be Mr. King and his queen, and y'all can pick which one is which. But
oh, I love the shade of Congresswoman Crockett. But again, Joy, on the point of how you shape the narrative, the narrative can't be about the workers. It has to be about the work the workers do for the American people.
I could not agree more. I wish that people were all about the altruism of it and they recognized, who government workers are. But we have to remind them it's not just about the government workers. The workers are there to protect you. And so, yeah, we have to show them what they lose when we have these kinds of haphazard cuts, what they lose when we favor business interests, right, whose interest is just to run up the tab, right, for themselves, or rather make more money for themselves. Their interest is not public safety. Government's interest is purely public safety. So that's what you want. But I think also this is about reminding them of what it looks like in other countries when you don't do that, why people are trying to come here and why we're not trying to go there. It's because we do have government that protects us and that makes sure that we have standards that will benefit us. I think we also have to tell a story about who is the government worker. To the extent we are going to say anything about them at all, many people envision a government worker who, I think some of them have a certain stereotype about government workers and that they live all here in the Washington, D.C. area. But the vast majority of government workers don't live in this area. They live in places, they're protecting our national monuments, and they are in the plains, and they're in Montana, and they're in other Wyoming and other places. And so they're their neighbors. They're what's supporting their local economy. The government is the nation's largest employer. So when you take that away, not only does it hurt in terms of the benefits the taxpayer receives, but it actually will hurt their neighbors. So I think we have to really be always keeping what is the voter. When the voter goes, what are they voting for? And ultimately, when people go into the voting booth, they're voting for themselves and their families, and there's nothing wrong with that. And we have to talk to them in a way that understands that. We have to be talking about that. Now, Jennifer McClellan's from Virginia, reminding everyone. So this is important. You know, there are many government workers who work with her, right, in her area. But we all have to make sure our language is such that the American public sees themselves in your argument. You're absolutely right.
I want to quickly go to Congressman Khanna, who joins us right now. Congressman, we were just talking to Congresswoman Shontel Brown about today's House Oversight Committee. There were a lot of folks on the social media who were complaining that you failed to show up and vote, you abstained. But then I saw a Twitter comment where you explained what happened. So what happened today when that motion was put forth by Democrats to subpoena Elon Musk?
Well, I was not there at the vote because I was there at the beginning of the committee. Then I went to meet with the ambassador of Mexico to discuss the tariffs that Trump has posed and were wrong, and they called the vote. And by the time I got back, I didn't make it in time. I think they tried because they saw that a lot of Republicans had left, 8 people, to try to get the vote, sneak the vote in. But it didn't work because there were more Republicans. But then I explicitly, on the committee, called on Elon Musk to be subpoenaed and testify. And Musk, of course, who I've known for 15 years, didn't respond to any of the committee, but responded to me. And he said, "Don't be a dick, bro." At which point I responded to Musk saying, "Look, we've known each other for many years. I was okay in you're making recommendations on cutting defense spending or making recommendations to the Congress, but what you're doing is unconstitutional. You can't just make the decisions as an individual for the country. You have to come to Congress." And he replied angrily, and but I will continue to stand up to make it clear that what he's doing is unconstitutional. It's not transparent. If he is that confident that he has wasteful spending cuts, they come to the American people, tell us what they are, force us to vote on it. And if they're silly programs, and then hold the members of Congress accountable for voting for it. But he can't make these decisions himself. And I hope that the committee will have the vote again, but I'll continue to be forceful in speaking out.
Well, I remember you had offered to sit and work with Doge, but let's even start right here, okay? And this is also where I believe that I just think that even Democrats keep making a mistake. This department doesn't exist. It's no such department. Why do Democrats keep calling it DOGE? I mean, can the president just create a department out of thin air?
Well, the president can, in terms of an executive order. They create czars and they create offices. I mean, he can empower someone to
right, but this is called the Department of Government Efficiency. Doesn't Congress create federal departments, federal agencies?
Yes. No, I mean, I think it's at the very least misnamed. It's certainly not an agency. I don't know the law well enough to know whether the president has that power. But the Doge, as I understood it, was supposed to have the only power it was supposed to have is recommendations to do a report to Congress about what things should be wasteful. And what some of us said, Elizabeth Warren, myself, Bernie Sanders, others, that where we should start to look is on defense spending. That's where you have 5 primes that have really dominated defense. You have almost $1 trillion budget. And that if we could have cuts in that so that we could afford child care and health care for all and funding for education, that's where we should be looking to try to steer in that direction. But of course, what Musk has done is targeted the Department of Education. I mean, this is Pell Grants for working families. This is funding for families with kids with disabilities. This is funding for working class neighborhoods, decent schools. I mean, I went to public school. I took out loans to go to law school. This is the stuff that would be cut. And what he's doing is not coming to Congress. And so I have been very vocal in taking him on. And I think I have credibility. I have credibility to do that because it doesn't look at partisan. I said I was willing to work with him. I've known him for many years. I gave him the benefit of the doubt. And what he's doing now is clearly unconstitutional. And I'm calling him out on it.
Again, I'm going back to this here. So how are they funded? Who's over this so-called department? How many staffers do they have? How do y'all communicate with them? I mean, that's what's amazing to me. I've seen members of Congress go to different agencies trying to get in, and the response, oh no, they're busy. They're busy. They don't have any time to meet. And so we've seen Wired.com has been very aggressive in their reporting and said that he's literally got a band of 18 to 24-year-olds who have access to the most sensitive data of the United States, and they don't answer to anybody. And we played the video of the idiot press secretary saying that if if Elon Musk, the co-president, sees a conflict of interest, then he self-reports. What?
No, I've been making this the second point since the beginning, that I have to file, as you know, disclosures every month for any transaction that takes place. And why is Musk exempt from financial disclosures? It makes absolutely no sense. Some of these people were apparently hired as federal employees. I don't know who's hiring them. Is it the Treasury Department that has hired them? And one of the things we need to investigate is, were they given sensitive information before they were federal employees? Because that's blatantly illegal. And then we need to understand what information they're given and what are the privacy checks on such sensitive information. And those are all things that the Oversight Committee should be investigating. But the central issue, in my view, is that there is obviously certain waste in government. But what Musk is doing is making determinations on his own to stop payments that Congress has appropriated. And they have a theory that the Constitution says that the president can do this unilaterally. In fact, I tweeted back at one of the conservatives. I said, well, what if the Congress says there's an $800 billion defense budget and a Democratic president who wants to cut defense, Barbara Lee got elected president because Barbara Lee wanted dramatic cuts in defense. And she says, well, I'm only going to spend $400 billion on defense. Would that be constitutional? And they said, yes. They think Congress only can set the maximum and the president can cut as much as he wants. Now, the Supreme Court is going to strike that down, in my view, but they are operating on an unconstitutional theory.
And it's quite interesting that they're trying to go everywhere, but Elon keeps conveniently skipping over the Department of Defense.
And that was what I was trying to do, is to day one say that's where most of the spending is. By the way, Ro, I appreciate that we are successfully, I think, expose what Elon's doing, but let's not give a free ride to J.D. Vance and to Donald Trump. The reason I talk about J.D. Vance is the Republicans on day one attacked Vice President Harris. And the reason they attacked Vice President Harris, in my view, was they all knew she was going to be the nominee. Everyone knew that. And that is why they never gave her a moment, even though she was doing substantive work, to shine. They had an intentional strategy of attacking her. J.D. Vance presents himself as this reasonable guy, likable guy in the debate with Tim Walz. And he is standing there. He's someone who said, I am pro-parent, and I want to know, what is J.D. Vance doing in this administration while Donald Trump and Elon Musk are planning to get rid of Pell Grants for working families, cutting all the funding to any family that has a disabled kid, cutting funding for decent neighborhoods, those are in working class families, and many of them in red states. where is J.D. Vance in all of this? And I think yes, let's go after Elon Musk, but let's remember Elon Musk works for Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, and they're the ones who are calling the shots.
You know doggone well J.D. Vance is nothing but a junior staffer. The reality is Donald Trump has made it clear that the co-president of the United States is Elon Musk. And not only that, you have these other billionaires, David Sachs, Peter Thiel, all three of them South Africans who grew up under apartheid South Africa. Those three individuals, listen, I keep saying, this is about raping and pillaging the federal government. That's what this is about. And what you have is you have a Republican Party that doesn't give a damn. And I made this, and maybe, listen, maybe some other people disagree, but I just think, frankly, that Democratic Party, you remember the Democratic Party, plays too nice, wants to abide by rules that no longer exist. And I said this here, and I believe this sincerely. Whoever runs for the Democratic nomination in 2028, should they release their transcripts? Nope. Their health records? Nope. Their tax records? Nope. I mean, it is abundantly.
Roland, are you going to be announcing tonight? Are you going to be announcing tonight?
No. Because see, first, trust me, I'm way too. You can't be a presidential candidate and cuss people out. Because I can't.
I think that's almost a qualification these days.
I can't deal with some stupidity. Y'all got to be too cool. I can't. I'll just be way too honest, and it wouldn't go over well in these conversations. But I'm just simply saying that I just think that, look, she doesn't believe this anymore. But when Michelle Obama said, when they go low, we go high, I was like, no, we go lower. To me, this is where you're now. You're dealing with people who don't believe in the rule of law, who don't believe in the Constitution. They have no morals, no values, no principles, no ethics, no integrity. That's what you're dealing with.
Because my motivation in public service comes from my grandfather. He spent 4 years in jail alongside Gandhi as part of Gandhi's independence movement. One of my great honors was doing an op-ed with John Lewis where he talked about the influence of Gandhi's independence movement on the civil rights movement. And what would you say, Roland, that Michelle Obama is in the tradition of the civil rights movement of King and Lewis and in the Indian independence movement of Gandhi and Mandela, saying that they faced more hate, they faced more opposition, and they dealt with it with conviction, with love, with principle, with inspiration, and that defeated these forces, ugly forces. And Michelle Obama is just saying that's a deeper value at why the African American community is the conscience of America.
I get that, but follow what I mean. Follow what I mean. When I see what's happening 2 blocks from here, when I see what Elon Musk is doing, not a single Democratic senator should be voting for any cabinet nominee. I believe if Tommy Tuberville, if he stopped the appointments in the Pentagon for months, every Democratic senator should say, nothing moves. No appointee, no nominee, nothing happens. But again, Democrats play nice, and Republicans take advantage of Democrats playing nice, playing by the rules. We're institutionalists. And so, look, I get it. Listen, when the inauguration took place, Biden tells Trump, welcome home. Damn that. We ain't riding in the same limo. I mean, I'm telling you, Democrats are operating as institutionalists. This is the way we should operate. When the opposition are thugs, are gangsters who do not care about the rule of law. And I just think that Senator Chuck Schumer is playing way too nice with these folks, and they will cut a Democrat's throat to get whatever they want. And you know what? They're going to get RFK as Secretary of HHS. They're going to get Tulsi Gabbard, okay? They got Pete Hegseth. They're going to move it. They got Pam Bondi. And Democrats, I just simply believe, are playing too nice, and their base wants to see fighters.
I agree with that. I'm 100%. I agree with you on holding up the nominations. I mean, Brian Schatz has done that in the Senate to put a hold on everything in at least the State Department, given USAID, and I agree that the Senate has been way too compliant. I do think you're going to see fight out of the House in a very, very concrete way, where we're going to say that there's not going to be a single Democratic vote on raising the debt ceiling. And we know this president looks at the stock market. It's the one thing that he looks at. This is why President Sheinbaum and Trudeau, basically punched back at his bullying, because he saw the stock market drop by 500 points when he did those irrational tariffs on our food that we eat. And what the House Democrats are going to say is not a single vote to increase the debt ceiling unless you start to commit to spending everything that we've appropriated and authorized, unless you make sure that you don't cut Department of Education, unless you make sure that USAID stays, and a whole host of things. But we have to fight. I agree with you. There has not been enough fight in the Senate. Personally, I think Hakeem Jeffries does have that fight in him. And in my view, he is the leader right now of the Democratic Party. And that's where the energy is.
All right. Congressman Khanna, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, folks, got to go to a break. We'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Don't forget, support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing on average $50 a year. It comes out to $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day. There are folks who say, hey, I can't afford that. I give less. Totally understand. We appreciate that. There are those who say, you know what, I can give more. We appreciate that as well. This is about being 100% independent black-owned media. This is about speaking to our interests. And here's the deal. I got non-black folks who watch, who actually support the show as well, who give. I remember a couple of years ago, I had a 70-year-old gay white guy send me a note, and he said, that's what I am. He said, I'm a 70-year-old gay white guy, and I learned from watching your show. And I appreciate that, because we have to understand the conversations that we're having here, corporate media ain't having, okay? Y'all can watch these shows on CNN, these little debate shows, they're a joke, okay? You got idiots like Scott Jennings, folks play nice. Well, I ain't playing nice. I'm not playing nice with these people, okay? When this man releases Oath Keepers, when he releases the Proud Boys, when he releases violent racists, no, this is no time for us to play nice. This is a time when we've got to have, as Dr. King, maintain our militancy as the black press and being advocates for black people. That's what he said in 1968 with his book, Where Do We Go From Here, KSO Community. And so we need to understand that. And so if you want to support the work that we do, you want to give via Cash App, you can do so via the Stripe app, because Cash App closed all of our accounts when they changed their rules. And so this is the QR code for Stripe. And so this is what you use here. And then what you then do is, if you want to check some money orders, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 2003 7-0196. PayPal, R. Martin Unfiltered. Venmo, RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Also, get our merchandise, get our 2 shirts we have out, folks, other merchandise. Hashtag We Tried to Tell You, FAFO 2025. And also, don't blame me, I voted for the black woman. Go to RolandMartin.creator-spring.com or go to BlackStarNetwork.com. Back in a moment.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. Democracy in the United States is under siege. On this list of bad actors, it's easy to point out the Donald Trumps, the Marjorie Taylor Greens, or even the United States Supreme Court as the primary villains. But as David Pepper, author, scholar, and former politician himself says, there's another factor that trumps them all and resides much closer to many of our homes. His book is Laboratories of Autocracy, a wake-up call from behind the lines.
So these state houses get hijacked by the far right, then they gerrymander, they suppress the opposition, and that allows them to legislate in a way that doesn't reflect the people of that state.
David Pepper joins us on the next Black Table, here on the Black Star Network.
This is Tamala Mann.
And this is David Mann. And you're watching Roland Martin
Unfiltered.
Talk about no justice in Georgia. A judge in the trial of the white DA who chose not to prosecute the 3 white men who initially prosecuted them, who killed Ahmaud Arbery. You know what he did? he got rid of the second charge. This is after doing this the other day. So that's right, this is Georgia judge. He throws out the final charge against Jackie Johnson, the former DA for Glenn County. She faced a felony indictment for allegedly using her position to protect the men who were charged with killing Arbery nearly 5 years ago. Senior Judge John Turner dismissed the remaining charge of violating her oath of office, citing technical issues with the wording of the 2021 indictment. Earlier this week, he acquitted Johnson of a misdemeanor charge for obstructing police. Gerald Griggs, who is the Georgia NAACP state president, joins us right now from Atlanta. Gerald, what the hell?
So, Roland, what happened was the prosecution did not present enough evidence on both charges to really get to the point where the jury could hear the case. And so the judge threw out the obstruction case because there was no police officer that testified that Jackie Johnson told the police to not arrest Travis and Greg McMichael, William Roddy Bryant. And then on the violation of oath of office, there was a legal technicality in the pleadings of the indictment, which basically said that she violated her 2010 oath. But unfortunately, she had taken 2 more oaths because she had been reelected twice. So it should have been the 2016 oath. And so there was not sufficient evidence to reach a jury because of the technicality in the indictment.
What was the reaction from your supporters, the Arbery family supporters in the courtroom?
They were shocked, but also they kind of knew this was coming because they didn't feel like the prosecution had done a good enough job in presenting the case. And so they kind of knew it was going to happen. They're still hopeful that justice can prevail because there was evidence of a cover-up by the Glenn County Police Department. That's irrefuted. And so now they're calling on the Georgia AG to charge law enforcement because there's clear evidence that even from George E. Barnhill, who was the prosecutor at the time, he said that the Glenn County Police Department had already made its decision not to arrest anybody in relation to the killing of Ahmaud Arbery, and so there appeared to have been a cover-up there. But he also testified that Jackie Johnson didn't have anything to do with it, neither did he. So there's still time and there's still sufficient evidence to prove that there was a cover-up, but unfortunately, in this case, jeopardy is attached, and so it's not. You're not able to go after the chief prosecutor who allegedly made the call.
And of course, she's never said why she didn't prosecute those 3.
No, she hasn't. She said that she didn't have anything to do with it because there was a conflict, and so there was not sufficient evidence to show that she obstructed or violated her oath.
Did she ever say what the conflict was?
She said the conflict was that, Greg McMichael used to work for her as her chief investigator. And so that created a conflict, but she never directly told police to do anything. The police on their own, according to George E. Barnhill, who was the second prosecutor appointed to the case, the police had already made their decision not to arrest.
My goodness, my goodness. Well, thank goodness those racists are sitting in prison and they will never be getting out.
That's exactly true, and that's what the family wants to continue to happen, continue to push for absolute 100% justice, and that's why they're calling on the Attorney General's office to prosecute those police officers that ultimately made the decision not to arrest.
All right, Gerald Griggs, we appreciate it, bro. Thanks a lot.
Appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Folks, a second federal judge issues a sweeping block against convicted felon-in-chief's plan to end birthright citizenship. U.S. District Judge Deborah Boardman in Maryland issued the nationwide injunction Wednesday, siding with immigrant rights groups and 5 pregnant women. They argue that Trump's executive order violated the Constitution by attempting to deny citizenship to children based on their parents' immigration status. Boardman's decision is more extensive than previous temporary block issued by a Seattle judge, which was set to expire this week. This new ruling indefinitely halts the administration's efforts as the case moves through the courts. The Trump order would have prevented children of undocumented immigrants, as well as legal temporary residents like international students or tourists, from gaining U.S. citizenship at birth. So, boy, here's the thing for me. And this is what really kept pissing me off during the election. I kept saying, especially to a bunch of these Simple Simon, silly ass FBA folks and others, that you can sit here and whine and complain about Vice President Kamala Harris, President Joe Biden. I said, but if there's one thing you better be voting on, federal judges. And I literally had a bunch of black folks, a bunch of dumbass black people, tell me, oh, that stuff doesn't mean anything, that all those judges didn't mean anything, even though we sit here and watch Trump being able to appoint 3 Supreme Court justices and what that has done, and how when he appointed more than 200 federal judges and what that has done. And I'm sitting here going, this is a perfect example that I kept trying to tell of these damn idiots, that just one federal judge, one lone federal judge in Maryland can issue a ruling that impacts the entire country. So maybe these Simple Simons now realize that all those 245 federal judges Biden-Harris appointed, 68 black, that those federal judges matter when you're talking about nationally important issues.
Yeah, no, for sure. Without us having the right judges, is no way for us to get these things passed. And in this situation, it just benefited us to have somebody that could block it. So we already, with the Supreme Court, we are facing so many tough decisions with him being in office, there's no way we can get a new judge in there. So people have to vote. Coming up in these midterm elections, people have to vote. We have to get the right people in the right positions so we can have the right judges to make these kind of calls that are just beneficial. And we got to tell our people, because our people don't get the implications of them not voting in all of these elections and getting the right judges in the right seat.
I mean, in fact, Joy, we have seen 2 Reagan-appointed judges rule against Donald Trump. Because the Reagan-appointed judges, I dare say, might be more traditional conservative judges who believe in the Constitution, as opposed to these dumbass, grossly unqualified Trump judges who are stupid.
Correct. Trump put in far more ideologues into office when he was there, but even some of his judges, I think over the course of the time, I don't know how many lawyers on the call, for those of us who have legal backgrounds, some of these things are just patently, unconstitutional, unlawful. And when it comes between Congress and the presidency, they're sort of on equal footing. So some things are going to be resolved simply because they're in the purview of Congress. And you're going to have judges of all, ideologies voting against the Trump administration. He's never done particularly well at the court level, right? That's because that's where the rule of law typically wins out. The success that you all have seen are oftentimes they forum shop and they find one place where they do have a really corrupt judge who's able to put things into the federal pipeline. But by and large, he has not been overwhelmingly successful in the courts. And we will, of course, see that some of these things go to the Supreme Court, and we'll see what happens. He's sort of been successful in some respects, not successful in others at the Supreme Court level. So we're going to see how this plays out. But we have very few defenses left. The courts are one of those defenses, and we're going to have to see a lot of lawsuits filed in order to protect our rights.
And I'm telling you, Daniel, it drove me crazy. It drove me crazy trying to articulate on this show why federal judges matter. And I kept saying the right really understands the power of federal judges. But I literally had Simple Simon Negroes saying, oh, those judges mean nothing to me. That means nothing to me. You don't know how they're going to rule, so I don't care about judges. I care about policy. And I kept going, well, fool, that when a law is passed, somebody could sue, and a judge is going to rule on the constitutionality of the same law.
Yeah, I agree. And before I even answer that, I want to, to our previous comment by Attorney Griggs, I'm a Georgia resident, and I remember the Ahmaud Arbery case all too well. And I think he's absolutely right. You call on Chris Carr, who is currently running for governor in Georgia, to file charges against those officers. And we need to hold them accountable. Look, 2025 is not an off year for us, and we need to pay attention. You're absolutely right on the federal judge standpoint, because when most people see an administration, they see all these executive orders, we go into this mass panic. And the reality is there are safeguards in place. And you just mentioned a federal judge all the way back from the Reagan administration. Look, the last hope outside of protest, Democrats holding the line, and some of our Republican brothers doing the right thing, which I'm not seeing too much of. The reality is we have to depend on federal judges that can come and do their jobs, and we're seeing it with the birthright executive order that was recently tried to sneak through. We're going to see this shock and awe that this administration is going to try and push, and our hope is that these federal judges that have been appointed and that are in place, that most people don't understand. I mean, Roland, if you ask most people about the three branches of government, that's the problem right there, and that's exactly why when this president talks about dismantling the Department of Education, we have a bigger problem in this country because we don't understand how government works. So these federal judges that are going to do their job, we need to support them. We need to know who they are. We need to make sure that our communities know who they are, and we need to support every single type of individual that can help us to block some of the insane policies and orders that's trying to come and be slipped through this administration.
Well, again, I just wish people understand. And again, if you understand politics, and if you understand how they work, and just unfortunately, way too many people don't understand that. Tonight at 10 p.m., the folks at EYL are going to be airing this conversation that I had with them. We taped it yesterday. And this is a perfect example, and I think people, it drives me crazy when we're trying to explain to people how politics works, and you got folk who just, for the life of me, just have no idea. If people tune in, what they're going to see, and so this is the graphic right here. Their show's called Blackout. And, they asked me the question about, a lot of people, they were complaining the Democrats haven't done this, haven't done that. And I had to literally, when people watch the show, I had to literally walk people through top to bottom. So I'm like, when people say Democrats ain't done this, the Republicans haven't done this, I then say, well, first of all, y'all, we got to deal with top, executive branch, legislative, judicial. That's federal. Then you got governor, state house, state senate. Then you go down, then you got county government, you got county government, you got city government, you got school district, you've got DAs, you've got all of this, you've got all of these things that are going, all of these different levers of government. And it kills me when people don't understand all the levers. And so people just make these silly assumptions. And then when we talk about judges, and we talk about all of these different, we talk about judges, then we talk about impact of judges. President appoints, Senate confirms. These things matter. And I just think there are a lot of people who are good at complaining, who are good at, well, I don't see anything changing in my community, without even understanding how politics works. And that, to me, I think is my greatest frustration. And I get it. The reality is there are people who are busy, people who are working, they're in school, and they're like, hey, it's a lot going on in my life. It is. But how do you think change actually happens? It's because the people who show up, people who organize, who mobilize. And that's really the challenge, I believe, of where we are. And I just think that, there's a video that's circulating. Around of us me on the show last week when I was going off talking about Black America and the attack on Black voters. And people have been reposting this, and Ball Alert has been posting this, and these people, why is he yelling? the other people were like, that's what you got out of it? Then I had this one dumb woman, she posed, well, I didn't hear any solutions. I was like, well, maybe because fool, that was a 1 minute post, and it was a 1 hour and 13 minute segment. And that's the things, the board, that just drives me crazy with a lot of these people. They're looking for solutions in 60 seconds. It won't bother to actually go look at the actual video. We lay these things out. And those are the very people I was going off on, who was really getting on my nerves. We're going to pull up in a second, but I mean, I just need people to understand. I mean, we had Gary Chambers Jr. on here talking about black turnout being awful. You got so many black people in Louisiana, and then what happened? Folks didn't vote. But now they mad because you got a MAGA governor, a MAGA attorney general, Republicans have a supermajority in the legislature, and you're like, what the hell? Zamora, go ahead.
I think that people, first of all, we have to understand what our education system is like. So people are not getting the knowledge in a way that's digestible to them, right? And now Trump is trying to take away the Department of Education. So the education system is only going to get worse. But also, people are lazy. We're from a microwave generation as a young person, you know what I mean? And so we have to make sure that they are aware of platforms like your platform, where you can get what's going on and understand it from a view that is digestible. And so, yeah, you got to keep yelling, because that's what they understand. That's what we understand sometimes. And sometimes having individuals that are a little bit older and a little bit wiser saying it in a way that is like, hey, you need to wake up. You need to vote. You need to see how these things are affecting you. The grandparents are dying off and are not able to say, hey, let's go out and vote. Now you got to do it yourself. Now the next generation is up, and it's like, hey, what we doing to pull them in? What we doing to make sure they know? I had to challenge myself. I'm like, let me do something to just make sure that the people that I influence, the people that follow me on social media, are able to say, okay, this is what's going on. This is how these DEI items or executive orders are impacting me. So I think that's important. And I think shows like this really give that voice to get to those communities.
I mean, the thing for me, Daniel, I'm not playing nice with people. I have no interest in playing nice. And we just have to confront the reality of what's going on. There are a lot of people out here who complain on social media. They complain in different forms, and they say, well, Dems ain't doing this, Dems ain't doing that. Got it. Guess what? They're primaries. They're primaries, where you get to pick which candidate you want. But you don't show up for the primary, but then you mad who's the general candidate, but you didn't show up for the primary. So when I look at vote totals, in a lot of these places, they are pathetic. And I keep saying on this show, if black folks actually voted our numbers, we could be winning numerous elections on the state level, statewide races. Same thing there in Georgia. When you look at the numbers of the people who sit on a couch and stay home, well, then they want to complain, well, I don't see nothing changing our community. And so this is my challenge to anybody out there. If you're in a barbershop, a beauty shop, if you at church, if you anywhere, and somebody starts whining and complaining, this is what you need to do. You need to grab your phone and you need to go, what's your name? Let me go to the voter website and let me see if your ass voted. And then you got these old Simple Simon asses. I had a dumbass actually post, so send me an email or something. I ain't voting until nothing changed. And I was like,
That's gonna change.
You do know that right now, you got all these folks who were hollering Genocide Joe and Genocide Kamala, who now are mad because Trump says, oh, we gonna gut Gaza. So what? Y'all thought he was going to be better than her? Hold on, Joe. I'm like, y'all thought he was going to be better? Again, this is what we mean by election have consequences. This is what we mean when I say there are no perfect candidates. But what I will say, if you sat your ass on the couch and checked out, and I know everybody, see, I'm about to go there because people are trying to get me to stop cussing. I'm just going to go ahead and say, shut the hell up. But I really want to say something else. But my philosophy is very simple. If you don't vote, shut the hell up.
Yeah, and here's the thing. We have to understand. And I'll start off with the party. We got to build a bench, and we have to make sure we place an emphasis on down ballot candidates. We have done a horrendous job, from dog catcher to school board to county commissioner. Those are the positions we got to start at, because these decisions are being made and they're impacting our community. And we've got to target young people where they are and at an earlier age. But to your point, Roland, you're absolutely right. I've got folks from every community, from the Muslim community that was upset at what the Democrats did or didn't do in their opinion. We all saw the atrocities and the challenges that were happening between Palestine and Israel. We saw that. We said that. And to your point, there are no perfect candidates, but the challenge is individuals feel that their protest vote and not going to the polls or staying at home makes them less complicit. And then those are the very individuals. I saw, unfortunately, the other day, a Venezuelan woman in Florida who made mention that they'd been duped by the local Republican Party. I don't understand what "you've been duped" means when he clearly said what he was going to do. And while I respect the person going to vote, especially if you go to vote and you can be accountable for making the wrong vote. I respect that more than the person that stays at home. But when it was very clear of what this administration said they would do to a T, we're not just talking about Project 2025. We're saying to a T, these individuals said exactly what they were going to do, and you had individuals that laughed about it, that were complaining, and some of those individuals that are in rural areas that need access to their health care, their medicine, their prescription, their food stamps. These are individuals that are now scrambling. They're mad. They're posting on Facebook and social media. No voter registration. Now, granted, do we have to engage people? Of course, but we got to stop pointing fingers at elected officials and individuals and high and public figures, when the responsibility for us to be accountable to our children, our houses, our families, our neighbors. We got to stop all this mess when we're trying to point fingers and not taking accountability by going to the polls and vote. In Georgia, really quickly, Kamala Harris lost Georgia by 116,000 votes. We have over 750,000 registered inactive voters in the state of Georgia, and over 2/3 of those voters are of African-American descent. Black and brown voters that are not going to the polls for whatever reason, we could have won the state of Georgia 5 times over if those individuals came to vote. And so that's a problem.
Joy.
I mean, everything you all are saying is correct. We've been saying it. I do think we're going to have to find a way to educate people through social media. I think I don't know if you've seen what the immigrants groups have been doing. They've been giving really short snippets explaining to people, what to do when ICE comes to your house. They just made it very simple. I think we're going to have to do more of that on all of the pressure points in our society. So, how courts work. Because schools aren't doing it in the way that we need them to do, or at least they're not retaining it. And their interest in dismantling the educational system is to dumb us down. I think that also, if you are a leader, Roland, last week when you were talking about how our leaders are sort of failing us in this moment because they're not out showing their work, talking about what they're doing on a daily basis. As frustrating as people were at Governor Cuomo during the pandemic, he provided a counterbalance to Trump. He came out and he educated people every day on what he was doing, what was working, and he got questions, right? So we're going to have to find a way of doing those things on a regular basis for the average American citizen, making up for the fact that some of them either don't have time or just genuinely don't know. I also think we're in the middle of a cult situation. We have some people in our country who are almost attracted to this cult figure and Donald Trump. And so that's a different story. But the people who I think will be turned off by him, who feel like what he's doing is overreach, we have an opportunity to lead them as well as the undermajority, that's what I call us, right, who didn't win this time. When we combine the two, we can have a winning majority. So I'd like to see us be more aggressive about our educating the public on the moment we're in right now. So that's what I'd like to see. And frankly, it's a culture battle that we're in the midst of that we need to engage in.
Yeah, but look. all we can do is all we can do when it comes to informing, educating, and all of that. But I'm telling you right now, I'm just not going to play games with this. I'm not interested in dancing around this with folks. I'm not interested in playing in these games. I'm just not interested in any of this. I'm just, because some folk got to be checked. Some people got to be called out, and it's just a lot of our folk who don't want to be checked on it. And I'm like, yo, I'm just letting you know, I'm gonna do that because I just don't have the patience to listen to people continue to complain, and then when you are trying to educate, trying to get them to understand what is at stake, then folks are like, oh, well, I'm sorry, I ain't realized that. And that's why, in the video that I posted, I talked about, and I said, I'm tired of the MJ LeBron GOAT conversations. Mm-hmm. I don't give a shit about Kendrick and Drake. I don't. We expend significant energy on bullshit. Mm-hmm. We just got to go ahead and be honest about it. We spend a lot of time, energy, and on bullshit that's meaningless. And I'm like, somebody got to say it.
I think we got to go back to the old school way of really touching people. Like, we're using social media sites that are owned by people that don't have our best interests at heart. So,
right, and then when we push a black-owned app like Fanbase, I got Negroes. Well, it's clunky. It don't work as good as Twitter. And I'm like, oh, but Twitter and Facebook had more than $1 billion invested in development of the app. Fanbase is at 10 million. It ain't gonna operate the same. And again, what we do is the moment. I'll be perfectly honest, and it's hard as hell for me to say this here, but I actually had a brother he had a production company in Hollywood. He said this, and I hate to have to say this, but sometimes it's actually better for somebody black never to say it's black owned. Mm-hmm. Because the standard, we literally, too many of us literally love white ice. And we think it's way colder than black. We just got to go ahead and put it out there.
Yeah.
Too many. I had a brother, a prominent entertainer, text me. See, he sent me a DM. This was like this during the show. Sent me a DM. I just see he responded. Because again, that clip, and I'm trying to get Keenan to find which video that was in so I can actually play the extended version. Because people are commenting on the 1 minute, but they need to see the extended version. This prominent entertainer said, we need to motivate. This assault on black is crazy. We need to take this moment to gather and create and support our own businesses. My response to him was 100%. I said, but it also means reprogramming our minds. It means reprogramming black minds. We have to reprogram black people. And I have said this on so many occasions, but my God, I need black people to have to come to the realization.
That's right.
That white supremacy was so powerful and so potent and so destructive that what it did from the inception that continues today is that white supremacy put into our minds black self-hate.
Mm-hmm.
And black self-hate is promoted and promulgated when we say, well, you know it's a black shop. Well, you know it's a black-owned company. Well, I tried to hire a black electrician once.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll go through 4 or 5 white electricians. We walk in and we have a standard for a black business that we never have for white businesses. We'll walk into a black restaurant or a black store. Can I get a hookup? We ain't never asked Walmart and Target for a hookup.
Mm-mm.
We ain't never said to the manager at Target, yo, can I get 3 of these for 20? No, they gonna tell you, take that QR code, put it under that damn scanner, and what pops up, that's what your ass gonna pay. We ain't gonna do that with black-owned businesses. See, we just gotta put it out here. I keep seeing all these folks. Man, we gotta support black-owned businesses. Okay, who do you patronize right now? I want everybody watching right now, and there's no way for me to check the homework, but I want you to do this. Everybody who's watching and listening, I want you to literally sit down. And I want you can type this into your phone, you can write this down manually. I want you to actually list. I want you to go through what you spend your money on, and I want you to then list all of the black businesses that you currently use. And I'm gonna throw out here a wild guess. And I'm gonna say that the average person who does what I'm asking them to do right now, the average is probably gonna be 0.5.
Agreed.
See, I'm gonna let y'all put in restaurants,
okay,
bars. I'm gonna let y'all put that in.
Okay.
I'm gonna let everybody put that in. I guarantee you the average gonna be 0.5.
Yeah.
Which,
Roland, can I say something?
Which now, hold on. Which now means you have to now, and I want you to do this here. I want you to go look into the mirror and I want you to say, you full of shit. I want you to say, you don't do what you keep saying we need to do. And I want you to look in that mirror and I want you to say, if you are the average black person, then we will never be able to support our own because you don't even do it yourself. You can go and comment now, Joy.
I love you, Roland. I love it so much. Guys, the only thing I would add is for those of you who are in organizations, the links, the AKs, the whatever, please rally your organizations to also support Black-owned businesses, because some of us are putting big dollars into white caterers for our meetings, white establishments for our happy hours. Sometimes it's hard with hotels and whatnot, but everywhere you go, trying to infuse us into the work and make sure that we're giving big contracts, big dollars. And I've had to check myself on that. So, I'm putting the I always have my mirror on here. I'm putting it up to my own face and saying that I don't always do it myself. And I think we have to write it down and tell each other, please use us. And if you find a Black-owned business that doesn't meet your standards, go to another Black-owned business, because there is a deep bench of Black-owned businesses. That's something we do too. We'll go through 4 or 5 white people. And if it doesn't work out, we'll just go to another one. But when it's us, we have one bad experience, and it's not just that person that turns us off. It's, all other Black vendors, which is ridiculous. And you can also go to a vendor and say, this is what would help me improve for next time so that you can keep my business. Because everything Roland's saying is correct.
Hey, Roland, and to add to that really quickly, I live 35 minutes north of downtown Atlanta area. I drove in the other day. I just wanted some seafood. And Killer Mike and T.I. opened up a seafood restaurant here in Atlanta. I drove the 35 minutes to make sure I spent my money with these two brothers who are not just doing music, but are entrepreneurs. And I think it's important. It's going to take a little bit more gas in your car to drive a little bit further. Sometimes it's going to take the sacrifice to go online and order from the brothers over at Actively Black. You might have to wait a couple of weeks, but we got to start making some tough decisions with our pocketbooks. And one area we don't talk about enough are nonprofit organizations or shows like yours that need the support every day. And nonprofits who are depending on federal grants. We talked all about these federal executive orders cutting things. A lot of these Black-owned and Black and brown organizations that are fighting climate justice, they're fighting for environmental justice, fighting to keep healthcare in rural areas. They're losing their.
Oh, I think Daniel froze. Daniel froze. Zabor, I'm gonna go to you, then we'll come back to Daniel.
Well, I just joined fan base. So, I mean, you impacted one person. I know it was Black owned. So it's like we got to get our community to know these things that are Black owned. I've been thinking all week, like, how do we organize? How do we get together if everything we do and the convenience that we've accepted from these white companies are what we're using? How do we get away from those? So first thing is knowing that they Black owned, knowing that there are social media platforms and tech platforms that we do got to be real with ourselves when we're just full of it and we know we full of it, but we not saying it and we look like we doing something, but we really ain't doing nothing because we're not. Okay, I committed to not buying from Target, but what about every other area of your life where you're going to, now I'm going to Giant or wherever I'm going to get my items from, but I'm still buying the white items in those places. So even with what Pastor Brian is saying right now and going to that Target, they are having platforms that show you where Black-owned products are. So it just got me thinking, like, the more we have conversations like this, yeah, it may not look like we really are making headway, but we got to do something. We got to start somewhere. So this is a good place to start. It's to be aware, to make sure we are letting the other people that are like us, let them know to be aware and get everybody on the same page, or at least close to a similar page.
Daniel, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, outside of driving in and seeing and supporting communities and doing the work is philanthropy. I mean, I ran a federal program and billions of dollars came out of our region 4 and the EPA to support HBCUs, to support underserved communities and organizations like Harambe House here in Georgia. And these organizations aren't going to get those federal grants. These organizations fight for food security in areas that have food deserts. They fight for our public health. They fight for economic justice, economic rights, and they fight for entrepreneurs. And we need to support them. We need to support platforms like yours, and we need to support these foundations that have traditionally benefited from federal grants. And with these executive orders, we're going to see a lot of frontline community organizations that are actually doing the work have to shut their doors because they can't meet payroll. Those are the organizations you're going to have to dig in your pocket and, find some money and some resources to make sure they can stay open. And we got to support the organizations. You mentioned the brothers from Earn Your Leisure. brothers over at Actively Black. These are organizations and individuals that we can support by buying their products, going to their seminars, doing whatever we can. But if we don't circulate the black dollar more than that 0.5 time that you estimated, which actually is accurate, our dollar doesn't even circulate in our communities one whole time versus the Jewish community where it circulates 13 times, the Hispanic community where it circulates 6 times. You know, these are issues we have to deal with. We can't blame anyone for not spending money in our communities and supporting our organizations.
So I'm just going to give y'all just an example real quick before I go to break, and then we can close the show out. I was in Montgomery. I had to give a speech at Alabama State. This was October. So I flew in. I did my show. And I wanted to make sure that I supported black-owned restaurant. Now I could have stopped anywhere. I could have stopped anywhere to eat, but and this is the point I make. I was being intentional. Mm-hmm. So we pack up. We pack up with the show. One of the folks called ahead, and they called ahead. And by the time I got to the restaurant, the kitchen was closed. So I was like, damn. I said, okay. All right, so is there another place I can go to? So they mentioned this other place. So, and luckily it was not far. And I called ahead, and luckily they closed like in 3 hours. So I go to that place. And so I ate, and I meant to, and it was, y'all, I'm so busy, so I meant to post this. So I'm trying to understand why I cannot connect. So I'm trying to see what's going on here with I'm trying to connect to our, okay, why is it not connecting? Okay, I'm gonna try another device. So let's see if this connects. Nope, something's wrong. Okay, so I'm gonna do this here. Control room, I'm gonna send y'all this photo, and I want y'all to pull this up on your end. I was gonna, for some reason, our Roku device, so I can't screen share, so that's why I can't send it to you right now. So I'm gonna send y'all this, put this, y'all pull up Group Me, so y'all can grab this. So the place is called 48 Flavors. So y'all go ahead and grab it out of Group Me, and then y'all pull up on y'all end. So I'm not sure what's going on over here. So it's called 48 Flavors, and they had unbelievable chicken wings. And they had fried, they had baked, they had different, I mean, fantastic. So that's what I ate. And the thing there, and was, again, I was intentional.
Right.
When we travel with our crew, that's what we do. We seek out black-owned restaurants. We're being intentional. So if you're in Montgomery, guys, let me know when y'all have the photo. I want y'all to go there because, again, this is what happens when you have to be intentional in your actions. And this is the thing that is just so important, how we have to be intentional. And okay, so a lot of our folk, again, people are always just talking, oh no, I don't know. Man, I tried. No, are you intentional? And that's what drives me crazy. A lot of times we are not intentional with our actions. And that's how this changes. Zabor, it has to be an intentional action. Okay, I need this service. Mm-hmm. So I need to find this type of business. If I can't, I'm in a rural place or whatever, totally understand, I get it, but that's what it requires. It actually requires for you to not be lazy, not be easy, not just go, well, no. It means taking the time, and as Daniel said, you might have to drive a little further. Mm-hmm. But you helping that business, you showing up, patronizing, and others doing the same could make the difference between them surviving or thriving. And Keith Lee, when he goes to these restaurants, it's the same thing. They're there, but folk are not supporting the way they should. Go ahead.
Yeah, I totally agree. Coming from a family of restaurant owners in Houston to me having my own small business, just supporting those and those companies and the people you can start with the people that have businesses that instead of thinking, hey, give me a discount. No, your friend is doing business. That's how they taking care of that family. We'll give anybody else our money with no thought about it. And now it's time to be intentional. Our lack of intentionality has impacted us in getting where we are today, in this place right now today. Not being intentional about who we're voting for, not being intentional about contacting our congressmen or our senators, not being intentional about calling city council or making sure you are aware who's on your ballot, down the ballot. We have to be intentional about every aspect of our lives and not take for granted the generations and generations and sacrifices that our ancestors made for us. So I totally agree with you. It's time to be intentional, and it's time for everybody to know, like, you holding your friends accountable. Like you said, we got to call some people in that's not doing what they need to do.
Daniel, go ahead.
Correct. I don't know if
Daniel, go ahead.
Oh.
I agree. I think, look, we've said what needs to be said. Don't be a willing participant in your own oppression. I mean, we are constantly seeing time after time, we're about to see the Super Bowl in New Orleans. 20-year anniversary of Hurricane Katrina is this year. And how many of us are going to go spend tens of thousands of dollars on establishments that we don't own? How many of us are going to spend tens of thousands of dollars, if not more, in restaurants, in one of the most culturally rich communities that Black folks since Katrina have been gentrified out of, right? How many of us that are going to go down there and spend our money during this, one of the largest, if not arguably the largest sporting event in the world, how many of us are going to go out of our way in New Orleans in a week to make sure that we are going to be supporting our communities? These are decisions we have to make on vacation, not just day to day when we're in our cities or in our homes, but when we go on vacation. How much are we going to do to go out of our way? Grammys just passed. When we go into these cities, you got Altadena that is gone. We can't keep spending our money from an entertainment and sports standpoint and leave the communities behind. We can no longer do that. We've got to do our due diligence. I think we need a new green book. The same way how there was a green book during, Jim Crow era. We need a black book. We need a book to make sure.
But guess what? We actually do. We have that. There are numerous websites that you can pop it in. We've had the apps on this show. Yeah. You can, based upon city, it's all there. The question is, do we use it? I think, Joy, you were about to make a point.
Yeah, no, I mean, so yes, giving those big contracts to, Black-owned businesses, I think are really important. The other thing I think we have to do is remember that we have to be nearly as intentional, if not more, than our enemies. Say what you will about Donald Trump and his acolytes. He is following a playbook. He undermines government and institutions, the very ones that hold him accountable, and then he seeks to get them fired. So say what you will, he's standing on business. He's doing a lot of what he said he was going to do, and the things that he didn't say he was going to do, but that we knew he was going to do because everyone he was working with had put that plan together in Project 2025. We have to be at least as intentional as them. And I think we also have to hold each other accountable. I have on several boards, I do a lot of work externally, right? Mm-hmm. And I will tell you, the amount of fear and weakness that's going on behind the scenes by the people that are supposed to be the ones on the front line and defending us is frightening. And there are all kinds of reasons for it. People have actually, they have to make bank. They have to, be able to do the work. And they don't want to see repercussions happen on them. But if we don't, that's what our expected response is. We've got to mix it up and give the response that is unexpected. We have to fight back. That's the time that we're in, not the acquiescing time.
Yep.
It just doesn't work.
Folks, so finally got operational. So again, when I was in Montgomery, the place is called, go to my iPad, it's called 48 Flavors, a Southern Kitchen. Met the owners there. It was absolutely great. Yes, I pay for my food. So again, we got to also be willing to pay, okay? But the food was great, had a great time. When I was in Detroit, I went by this place and I was told that, hey, that, you have a lot of downtime, not a lot of patrons. But if y'all are in Detroit, you should go by Ivy Detroit Kitchen and Cocktails. Ivy Detroit Kitchen and Cocktails. The salmon there was fantastic. I really enjoyed that. Those are two places. But again, I'm talking about, you should be thinking about restaurants. You should be thinking about supplies. You should be thinking about, again, electrician, different work that IT professionals, if you're talking about having a business and you need your internet installed, your firewalls, whatever, but we have to be intentional with our actions. We can't just keep saying it. We actually have to do it. Joy, Daniel, I appreciate appreciate all of y'all been on the show. So many important things we talk about. So thank you so very much for being with us because the conversations that we just had, I'm telling y'all know. You pull the panel back up. I'm telling you right now, y'all know they ain't being had. The conversations ain't being had at CNN, MSNBC. Not even close. Somebody said something on Twitter. And I responded to them. I said, people have to understand when you're watching these networks, they focus on the process of politics, not the people impacted by politics. And so that's the difference, which is why also supporting the show is important. So again, Zipporah, Daniel, Joy, thanks a lot. Folks, we make it clear what we do. We're very intentional in what we do. What we focus on, who we focus on, and why we focus on it. And do understand, and I know some of y'all already know this, but I literally don't give a damn about haters. I don't. And y'all know I'm going to go ahead and clap back anytime somebody say something. Anytime somebody say something. And I just want us to understand, literally, we just got just some clueless folks out here. So the folks at EYL posted our thing, and so this fool posted, oh my God, not rolling. I will not watch it tonight. I guess I got to find something else to watch. And y'all know me, I ain't got a problem clapping back. I said, that means you choose to be ignorant and uneducated. And then some other fool goes, don't include me in your state of black people because I work for a living and my family and I are doing great, thriving, vacationing all over the world and not sitting home complaining. Okay, Andre Roundtree, since I got a little time, here's why your comment is stupid. It's called the state of Black America. It didn't say it's the state of Black Americans who are not doing great, who can't vacation, and who don't have a job. See how stupid you sound? And also, when we see the state of Black America, that's called a collective, not use an individual. So yeah, then you had this other fool this week, he gonna spew that victimhood mindset. And I said, come on, move, come on, let's go, pull it up. I said, no, dumbass, I break down politics and money, but you may be too broke to understand. Yep, I said it. Then this Carter in the City goes, the head bootlicker, Uncle Roland, I said, not like an idiot commenting. And then, let's see here. Then people say, hey, let's go, great selection, Roland is on top of everything going on right now. And then you had some other people who were commenting, different stuff like that. And then, the biggest clown on the plantation. I know he speaks from a lot of people's point of view, so I'm curious to see his song and dance he got playing right now. Who is that talking? Oh, somebody with just 2 posts, 10_5 Scott. Is that you? Yep, I showed your face, but you sound really dumb with your plantation talk. Then, of course, I had this fool right here. Boule Martin is probably the worst person to speak on the state of Black America. And I was like, that's interesting here. And look at him, oh, we run a real business in real life, but hope to grow this too. We'll take your comments as inspiration. Yeah, we stand by what we said. When I stand by what I said too, I say, you also claim to be a news and media website, but you produce zero news and have no website. All you do is post the content of others. And so I'll go ahead and show you SF Black Wealth. How do you have a news and media website, but it ain't on there? See, this is what I want y'all to understand. You got people who love to trash other folk, but they're not actually trying to do anything themselves. They're not trying to sit here and push people to be their best self. They're not trying to sit here and celebrate other black-owned businesses. All they do is complain. And yeah, you got bots and trolls, but do understand, as my man Chris Paul, comedian, say, he used to call me a Twitter sniper. I'm a smack you. Oh yeah. I'm gonna sit here and smack you. Kanan dropped a video in. Guys, see if y'all can grab the video he dropped in the folder. Yeah, and I'm gonna call him out. And see, for the people, if you don't like what I have to say, I don't care. Oh man, you on the plantation. No, I'm not. But any black person who uses plantation language, you're the one who is the slave. It's you. So people gonna do what they do. And I'm gonna tell you right now, we're gonna do what we do. And for all y'all who sitting here love running y'all mouths and we ain't this, we ain't that, all right, build your own. Let me know how it goes. So Baller Alert posted a video from our show. And it was actually a repost of somebody else who posted. And this video has been going all around Instagram, social media. I've had people texting me like crazy, and they have just been, going on. So this is the post right here. So Ball Alert, I appreciate y'all posting this. Roland Martin shares a message for Black Americans. You see it's gotten almost 50,000 hearts. You see the shared, everything like that. And so again, another brother posted this, the Lunch Club NC 2024. So they actually posted the video. So this is their video. and so they've gotten all people to do in the comments. So here's the actual, I want to run it again. This is in full what I said. This was just a 1 minute video, but I think you need to hear the context. Go. We do not understand that the executive orders that have been issued this week, the attacks on affirmative action in colleges and admissions, they are getting rid of programs, scholarship programs. They're getting rid of internship programs. They're getting rid of access. What this is about is the complete attack. And this is the goal of exactly what they did in 1877. This is no different than when the white racists in Mississippi convened the Constitutional Convention in 1890. And they said, we cannot let these niggas keep voting. Oh, I know, I'm sorry. Supreme Court Justice John Roberts, he doesn't use that language, but it's essentially what they did when they gutted Section 4 of the Voting Rights Act. The attacks on Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. Do understand, right now, you have at least 4 Supreme Court justices who would love to completely get rid of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. And why this is important is because the 1964 Civil Rights Act is the enforcement mechanism that has led to all of these changes for Black America since that period. So what they understand, if we assault the 1964 Civil Rights Act and get rid of that, and then we completely get rid of the 1965 Voting Rights Act, what we have effectively done is gutted Black leadership and African Americans from being able to take advantage of what happens in this country. So while a lot of y'all are bullshitting around on whether you can be on fucking TikTok, while you're getting caught up in some bullshit housewife, while you're having your fucking MJ and LeBron debates on who's the GOAT, there is literally, as we speak, an entire focus to gut every single civil right and economic gain that we have had since 1964, because they are pissed with those three acts. They're pissed with the Brown versus Board of Education Act. You have voucher bills that are being pushed in Texas and Tennessee and other places to gut public education. What we have to understand is there is a vicious assault to completely defund Black America. So if you want to see that full conversation, what you need to do is go to my YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com/Roland S. Martin. Go to my iPad. And I want you to see those two videos on the left. The first one, Blacks Not Voting Helps GOP Defund Black America. That's an 11-minute and 8-second video. But I really need you to look at that 1 hour and 6-minute and 16-second video that's right below that says Exposed, MAGA's Economic Assault on Black America. I need you to really look at those two videos, and then I want you to look at that third video, that 22-minute and 40-second, MAGA wants to defund Black America. You look at those three videos and you understand. For the people who are out, I saw some people commenting, oh, he ain't offered no solutions. It's because you watched a 1-minute video. Watch the full video, understand. This is the work we do every single night. And let me tell you something right now. I will put this show up against any so-called new black media show, that's probably not a real show, any legacy media, because I know for a fact what we do here every night, nobody else in black-owned media is doing. This is why we do what we do. Support what we do. If you sent that clip around and you shared it and you reposted it, well then support economically so you can have more of that every single night. Not just my show, but the other 4 shows on the Black Star Network. Cash App, use the QR code from Stripe. Here it is right here. Go to theblackstarnetwork.com to see it as well. You can see your check and money order, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. PayPal is R. Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, roland@rolandsmartin.com, roland@rolandmartinunfiltered.com. Download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Get our Roland Martin Unfiltered Black Star Network merchandise, including our 2 new shirts, hashtag We Tried to Tell You, FAFO 2025, and Don't Blame Me, I Voted for the Black Woman. Go to rolandmartin.creator-spring.com or go to theblackstarnetwork.com. And be sure to get my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. Get the audio version I read on Audible. Folks, and don't forget, we want you to download the app Fanbase. We want you to invest, if you can, invest in Fanbase to hit that $17 million raise that Isaac Hayes III and the folks are trying to do by going to startengine.com/Fanbase. I'll see y'all tomorrow, folks. Holla! Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?